All right, welcome back to Dirty Boots Capital. Today we got Brandon Elliott with us, and this is going to be a fun conversation. He's a young guy and he's doing so much stuff in real estate that I'm super excited to have him here. This is going to be a fun conversation. He's a super fun guy. We just got on and we started talking about like Vail, Colorado. He just got back from skiing. Hopefully this doesn't get him in trouble, but like scalping lift tickets like in the parking lot to be able to get like cheap seats. So like $40 out in, Colorado. I mean, that's unheard of for a lift ticket. So anyway, we already started having fun with this conversation, so it's going to continue. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us on Dirty Boots Capital.
Tony, what's happening? I appreciate you for having me on. I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, this is great. This is great. So I want to talk about so many different things, but give the viewers and the listeners a little bit of background about what you do in real estate, where you came from. You're doing so much. So give us a little bit of background story there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So I come from New Jersey. That's where I was born and raised.
We won't hold that against you.
Thank you. Please. Thank you. I was raised by a single parent mother. God bless her soul, raising three misfits and giving her a hell of a lot of trouble along the way. Single parent mother, though, she was diagnosed manic, depressive, bipolar. I met my father when I was 18 years old in court so he could stop paying child support. And so, you don't know what you don't know or what you don't have at a young age. But there were some struggles growing up. We were raised on Section 8 housing, a lot of help and handouts from local churches as well as schools, and friends. And, so I always say like we grew up American poor, quote unquote, because in America, we're still so freaking blessed that you don't realize until you get to start traveling and see like third world countries that don't get all that help. Extremely blessed. But long story short, I found myself getting addicted to marijuana at a very young age. I had my first job when I was looking at 9. I got my first job, like a legitimate job, not just like neighborhood stuff at 9 to 12. But at 12, I got a first job and kind of under the table cash and in New Jersey, that's how it goes. Uh,
We
needless
might
to
have to edit that out. We don't want you
yeah.
getting arrested or anything.
Yeah. I ended up at a young age, just, there was kind of drugs in the neighborhood and so forth. I had a lot of pressure at a young age and got influenced by some older pretty girls to smoke marijuana. Just giggles, laughs, all the fun stuff that think would be good. And it just went down a wrong path of like, hey, grew up poor, couldn't afford it, wanted to do it more, realized, okay, well, I need to be the person in my group of friends that supplied it so I could smoke for free. And that just went down a spiral effect because I wasn't used to spending money. So all the money that I did make, I would just take it back to the same guy, get more and more of it. And it ended up getting aggressive.
Yeah.
So
But you worked your way out of that. Thank goodness.
I did. Well, I had an explosion in my apartment when I moved away from all the chaos that I made in New Jersey. I moved to San Diego, California, where I live today. Fell in love with it out here, but I was really running away from problems and creating new ones here. And so I ended up having an explosion in my apartment, making hash oil like a moron. And so I was on fire. I burnt 40% of my body on my. I was induced into a coma. I went through 3 surgeries. I had to learn how to walk again. I got skin graft on my arms and legs. And so it was just a very impactful moment that I was like, something's got to give. And I didn't have the male guidance. I didn't have resources to kind of correct me at a younger age. I made a lot of
Yeah.
mistakes on my own. And so I needed an explosion in my life and literally be on
Literally,
fire.
yeah.
Yeah. To not just get a slap on the wrist, but to have something so impactful to make me, give me a good time out and be bedridden for a full month so that I could realize, hey, I'm doing the wrong things that I'm not proud of and I need correction. I need to be on the right path. So long story short, I was doing door-to-door sales for Kirby vacuum cleaners. I
Mm.
was selling a $3,500 vacuum cleaner. I got good at it, and then I got recruited into a real estate investment company in around like 2011, and that gave me the inspiration that I needed. Like we were focusing on NODs at the time, notice of foreclosures, of defaults, and it was incredible the impact that we were making, the money that was coming through, the systems in place. I got a little bit of education, a hell of a lot more motivation, and that's what I needed. And so I ended up taking this motivation and just started studying all the books, podcasts just like this, YouTube
Yeah.
University, and going to all the RIA groups, volunteering, basically getting all this information together. And then I started taking action. I studied 4 hours every single day for 2 full years before I got the boldness and the cojones to actually man up and take down some deals. But
Yeah,
today,
yeah. No, I just want to jump in like real
yeah,
quick.
please.
So, for any of the like the viewers and the listeners, I mean, if you think you have it rough, I mean, man, that Brandon, you just shared a very intimate portion of your life where you came from. And, you like me, we didn't come from money, right?
Yeah.
I remember my parents were blue collar workers. And they got laid off every year, like clockwork. My father was laid off in the wintertime because they didn't do any construction during
Yeah.
the winter, snowy, cold season. He got laid off in the wintertime. My mom always got laid off at some point during the year because they didn't get orders in the factory for certain things. So she always got laid off. And there were many, many, many times my parents could have gone to like the soup kitchen and picked up like at the time it would be like a cardboard box and they'd put like the powdered milk. I don't
I
know. Do
was
you
about to
remember
say
that?
powdered milk. Ugh. Ugh. God
Powdered
bless
milk, like
anybody
the
sold.
grossest thing you could ever drink. And so, powdered milk and like that big orange block of cheese.
Yeah.
And so there was only one time my mother went and she got that. And, all the other times she was just too proud to go
Yeah.
there. Right. She was just always like, so if you think you have it bad today, again, look around. There's probably more opportunities and more resources available than maybe you realize.
Yep.
We tend to sometimes gravitate towards the negative things, gravitate towards the positive things. And I love what you just said there at the end in terms of like, turning your life around. You took action. You took the time to read books. You took the time to go to YouTube University and find some great podcasts that like spoke to you, like really you resonated with either the host or the message they were sharing. You took that time, you took action, right? So if there's folks out there who are expecting it to just be delivered to their front door,
Mm-mm.
it doesn't happen that way. You got to invest the time, right? Sometimes it's less about investing the money,
Yep.
right? It's not always about the money. I don't have the money. How many times do I hear that? And probably you too, Bryn, right?
Yeah.
How many times do you hear, I don't have the money? And it's like, oh my God, there's so many ways to do this without having the money. You have to go invest your time. And unfortunately, there's too many people who don't want to do that. So that's why we're here, because we want to
Yeah.
encourage folks to go like take action in some way, invest your time, create a network, create, some learning for yourself and be able to do great things because man, so let's talk more about like what you're doing. You gave me like the highlight reel before we click the record button, and it's amazing. So you're doing stuff like the Burr method, you're
Yeah.
doing short-term rentals, like tell us some of
Yeah.
the things you're doing because you're a young guy, and I want folks to know and see you and be like, holy shit, this young guy can do it. I can do it too, right? I
Yep.
don't care what age you are or what sex you are or
Mhm.
any of that. You can do it. So
Yeah.
walk us through it.
Yeah, and for me personally, I'm all about I want to educate, I want to motivate, and I want to inspire people to give them the step by step of what it looks like to take action yourself because it's real estate just like you, Tony. It's like it has changed my life. Credit was the thing that was allowed me to be able to jump into real estate, gave me, but that mindset, it's so important, like you were mentioning, to get that switch. So for me personally, today, we have 8.5 million in real estate assets. We collect about $48,000 a month off quote unquote passive income real estate. There's nothing passive about it, ladies and gentlemen. But we have systemized things, which I'm very proud of because it's not it's not easy. And when you're first starting any business, because real estate is a business, ladies and gentlemen, you got to think like that. You may not initially, but you just want to put your money to work. But over time, you realize it's just like any other business. And it's important to systemize and get intelligent as a real, true business owner and get yourself out of the business, right? And so we're in 4 different states: New Jersey, Ohio, Arizona, and California. I fell in love with the Burr strategy. And what that is, if listeners don't know, it's buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. I have no money into any of my deals at this point, which is incredible. I'm very proud of that. And we have a good amount of equity. We have, so Ohio, we have some Section 8, some long-term rentals. We have Airbnb in California. We are part of a syndication in Arizona of 230 something units. We're doing 7 ground up construction properties here in San Diego as well because ADUs are very accessible and easy to do out here. It's hard to find good properties or good land, but if you have a little bit of land on a property you already own, then just build. It costs $300 a square foot to build. It's worth 1,000 afterwards. It's pretty damn amazing to do something like that, so you can get the cash out, refinance, free cash
So I want to jump in because you mentioned a lot of things. You're using the Burr method to create wealth and cash
Yep.
flow for yourself. You're renting some Section 8 properties, which is fine. You're doing short-term rentals. You're doing this ground up build with ADUs. You're involved in syndications. So specifically for like somebody new who was getting into real estate investing, like with all your experience that you've amassed over the years and all the different types of things you're doing, what would you recommend or advise maybe a new real estate investor go do? Because you've seen so much. I mean, we probably don't want to recommend to a new investor maybe to start getting into ground up new construction because that might be a little capital intensive and a little hard. So, what would be some easy things they could do to jump into investing?
Yeah, and just to give clarity behind this, a good foundation, I've been doing this since 2015. So almost 9 years in it. I was 25 when I got started, so 34 now. At the end of the day, I've learned a lot and I've made almost a huge mistake on every single deal. Just be very clear. Very
Yeah, but you're
blessed
still
along.
successful, right? And
Yes,
and that's
very
something
blessed.
super important because I've done the same thing. People say, "Oh, have you made any mistakes?" And it's like, "Yeah, I
Yeah.
made a shitload of mistakes, right?"
Yeah, yeah. Which one do you want to
You
start
know,
with? Yeah.
yeah, but that's not to scare people away, but it's to share with folks that despite the mistakes we make, we're
Yep.
still very successful with real estate investing, despite those
Yeah.
mistakes.
Thank God.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
exactly.
for me personally, I always like to say to somebody brand new, look, there's 30 plus ways to make money in real estate, okay? I
That's
encourage
it.
each.
I thought there was more.
Yeah. Yeah. Bigger Pocket says 100 plus, but they're breaking down like a duplex, triplex, fourplex. It's like that's,
Yeah.
residential multifamily in my opinion. But long story short, there's so many different ways to invest in real estate. I encourage you to do a little bit of due diligence on each one. Like understand what it looks like from beginning to end on each strategy so that you know roughly what it looks like for time intensive, for capital needed, for longevity, like project, what it looks like and see what you are gravitated towards. Me personally, I fell in love with the Burr strategy. I love the idea of within 6 to 12 months getting all my money back out, having no money into it, and then still having cash flow, appreciation, tax benefits. Like that was super attractive to me. And I encourage everyone like that's I think it should be attractive to most people, but it really just depends on you because it is going to be a renovation involved. It's going to like you're going to have to learn how to find good deals and so forth and figure out what makes sense to you and then go all in, laser beam focus on it. Right now you hear me doing all these different things. It didn't start off like that and I highly don't encourage somebody to be, the person that chases multiple rabbits catches none. So over the years I've been able to add more opportunities to my tool belt basically from having those just incredibly lucrative opportunities presented and it's like, oh yeah, why not, let's test it out. And so I
Yeah.
think somebody can learn a lot from that by finding that one thing, finding the mentors that are doing exactly that and going all in on that education for at least 6 months before like you really get anything.
Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned that finding the mentors or coach or somebody to help because I just came off of another podcast where we were talking about like that the best thing somebody could do today, like if they wanted to go figure out like how to achieve wealth and success and cash flow through real estate, you don't have to necessarily like try to reinvent the wheel. Like go find a coach or a mentor who's done what you want to do. Like to your point, if somebody has a passion with short-term rentals, go find a coach who does coaching or mentoring on short-term rentals, right? Pay up for that education, right? Just like you did, right? Brandon, just like I did, right? You don't get to be able to have all that freedom without, so to speak, paying up to some degree. So go seek out that person to be able to advise you how to do what they did. And you know what? There's so many people out there who are just they'll be tickled pink to be able to tell you how they did it. They love talking about themselves and
Yeah.
they love helping people.
Yep.
So like if somebody came to you and they said, "Hey, Brandon, how did you do it with like no money down, or how
Yep.
are you doing these? You have all these properties, all these units, but some of them you have no money in the deal.
Yeah.
Like, how did you figure that out?" Like, if somebody wanted to be an expert in that and like really get their real estate investing off the ground, you'd be a great person to talk to about that.
It actually that's a live example that just happened on the mountain just this past weekend because there was somebody asking questions about work, what I do, stuff like that. I started telling them and they just lit up and asked a million questions and I'm hanging out on the lift like like yeah, I'll
Right?
talk to you about it and so I was basically mentoring them for a couple hours. We got a coffee and some food afterwards. So it's like you can do exactly the same thing and help out people. People are very open to sharing their knowledge. And the cool part about real estate is that there's so much information out there that there's a lot of good stuff that you can soak up on your own. But if you want to take the elevator approach and really just cut the learning curve, like if you're shaking in your boots, we all like started off that way, it's okay. But
Yeah.
find that person that can really like help you out with that because time is money. You got to pay attention.
Yeah, I had lunch yesterday with an individual. He's, super successful. Has his own company. He's doing work in the real estate space. And, we sat down for lunch and, he's saying, the majority of my clients come from like my network. And he's like, networking is like, if I understood like 10 years ago how important networking was, I would
Yeah.
have done more of 10 years ago. And so here we are. I met him at a conference down in Florida.
Networking.
And we just yeah, networking exactly. And we just hit it off because we had similar backgrounds, similar stories. So we get to talking and lo and behold, he's like an hour away from each other. Right. So we decided to meet up in between. We had lunch together. We shared more stories. And again, just networking and creating an atmosphere. Whereas if I need services from him, now I have somebody in my Rolodex, and likewise, if I need, more investors or more whatever, I have him to tap into because he deals with, some pretty high net worth clients. So the networking piece, have you found the same to be true on your end?
Oh yeah, for sure. Kind of going almost alongside with mentors is being in mastermind groups. That's how I started off in 2015, and I'm a mastermind junkie now. I invest a quarter million in myself each and every year into many groups, and it's because I've always received an ROI. I demand it in myself. Like getting into some of those groups, you're involving yourself and bumping knuckles and elbows with like high level individuals that have paid the same price and the commitment, not just financially, but time away from their family and friends and their business to be able to grow and scale. Like they think the same. They want something bigger and better. They're not satisfied with where they're at. And that's the
Yeah,
type of individuals, that mindset, it's life changing. So in 2015, when I got started, it was $400 a month and I was shaking. I was making $1,900 a month. It was a big portion.
big
But
commitment.
yeah, and I do the same today, just at a different dollar amount to get into high level rooms. And so that networking aspect, just like you said, it's everything in many ways.
It's not coming to knock on your front door.
Yeah,
And
you
so
got to
if you're
go out and
waiting
get
for
it.
it to come on, knock on it on your front door, or show up in your backyard, on your patio or your deck or whatever you have,
You're gonna be
chances
disappointed.
are you're going to be disappointed, right? And it's not going to show up, buying, tickets to the local ball game, most likely, unless you're doing it in a very specific way to network in the owner's box or something
Yeah, the
like that.
box seats. Yeah,
Right,
you gotta
exactly.
and you gotta
Uh,
pay up for those things,
you
right?
got to pay up. You have to be doing these things with intention, right? Like you're saying, you're joining a mastermind because chances are, and there always is, it's like-minded people who want to do better, who want to seek out different answers, different systems, different, and there's a lot of different masterminds out there.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit here about, so you're not just strict real estate, you also have this company that you created, Credit Counsel Elite, to help people. Help me understand and help the listeners and the viewers understand a little bit about this company you started.
Yeah, so Credit Counsel Elite, we started back in 2016, 17. It's basically I had so many people raising their hands saying, "Oh, I want to do real estate too," right? We all get that, but they didn't have the money. Same thing with me. I didn't have the money. I was working restaurants. I didn't have any money saved up. After my explosion, I was in debt for the first time in my life, and that was scary. At the end of the day, when there's a will, there's a way, right? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like the Robert Kiyosaki thing of like that mindset of, I don't have any money, or you're just going to shut down, or you're going to say like, well, I don't have any money. How can I get more of it? How can I make this deal happen? Can I get creative? Can I figure out how to do this? And I had that motivation. I had when there's a will, there's a way. And so I started figuring out how to utilize credit cards to buy
Mm.
properties, complete the renovation, and do the Brrrr strategy. And what's cool is I got enough points for each card to go on a free vacation afterwards to kind of like pat me on the back. And so I started showing other people the same thing because everybody raises their hand saying they want to be a part of real estate, but their goals, what they're telling me is, well, I need to make money over here first in this business, and then once this works out, then I'll put money into real estate. And I'm scratching my head thinking like, what if that doesn't work out? Or like how long is that going to take that you're missing out on, you know?
Yeah.
And so I started showing people how to utilize credit cards, and we built up this company. Like we're showing people how to get a lot of credit at it's usually two, three, four, or even $500,000 plus every 6 months at 0% interest. And the 0% interest ranges from 6 months to 24 months, but on average, it's about 18 months. This gives people the opportunity to liquidate the cards into cash and then buy real estate or complete the renovation, do the Brrrr strategy, diversify, grow and scale their company, hire on more inventory, marketing, whatever it may be, hire, like beat out their competition, right? There's cool things that
Yeah.
you can do to grow and scale your business instead of missing out on opportunity. And that's what we've been able to develop over the years at Credit Counsel Elite, and very, very blessed to see the outcome from it and the impact.
And so one of the big things I take away from that is you're creating a strategy for folks,
Oh
which
yeah.
is very key. It's a strategy. You're not taking out these credit cards so that people can go to the go buy a new car, go buy a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
This is a very strategic way to do real estate, right? And you have to
Yes.
be very disciplined in this approach. We do things with single family rentals in a very strategic way. It doesn't
Yes.
work for some people because of just certain dynamics, I'll say. So this is the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm very strategic with my single family rentals, and you're very strategic, and you have to be and disciplined when you create these strategies and these programs for individuals. So do they need to have like a minimum credit score, or how does that all work? Like what if
Yeah.
they come in with bad credit?
Yeah, thank you, Tony, for bringing that up. It is, we teach, I call it budgeting 101 and understanding
Mm.
financial literacy as a foundation piece of understanding how the banks and lenders are judging you so you know how to play the game. I call it out as I see it. I look at financial literacy currently in today's day and age of almost like real life Monopoly, except nobody knows the rules to the game. So when they're going past go, they're not collecting the 200. It's like things like
Yeah.
that people just don't know, and they're shooting themselves in the foot each and every day. Good people that deserve to get the funding to build up their business. Whether you're in the 800 club or the 300 club, or you're 18 years old or 70 years old, we've been able to help out all people in between. We've been able to show people how to fix credit quickly, and even if you're in the 800 club, 9 times out of 10 you have to focus on a little bit of fix, even if it's personal outdated information, cleaning that. But we've had people with bankruptcies, collections over 100K, 70 plus hard inquiries deleted within 24 hours. Now, there's no guarantees when it comes down to fix. It could take much longer, but we've had like dozens upon dozens of testimonies of just that very quickly. So usually within a few, 30 to 90 days is where we can get incredible results. But after they fix, we move on to what we call build. And that's where we'll show you how to boost up your score, get to the 800 club in 30 days or less. And once you're at the 800 club, we'll show you how to stay there so that you're getting the best rates, and so that you can basically put yourself in a position to get a 90% approval odds with these banks and get the highest limits. So we have a list of 9,500 banks nationwide, every single one of them, state by state, which ones are giving out the most funding in order. And we basically show you how to talk to them and present yourself properly so that you are labeled as a low risk versus a high risk, because there's 40 plus metrics on how the banks and lenders are judging each and every one of us, and nobody knows them. Once we expose them and kind of show you exactly what that looks like, then you can truly flip the script on the banks.
That's wild. So it's basically leveraging certain things that you probably already have within you
Yeah.
to be able to do this strategy. We just don't know how to do it. Like
Yeah.
this isn't taught in school, right? Let's be honest, right?
Not. Yeah.
Nobody's teaching this in school, right? How to use this method to buy real estate, become wealthy, and have some cash flow, right? In school, all they're teaching you is how to, maybe develop some skills, maybe if they even teach that anymore.
Yeah.
And and then you go get a job, which is a suck.
Yeah.
Which is what you and I try to help people figure out. How do you get away from selling your time for money? right? Which is another thing. You mentioned Robert Kiyosaki. That's another thing he teaches, get away from selling your time for money to be able to go do the things you truly want to do. Now, typically from the time they start to the time they maybe purchase their first property, what does that typically look like for somebody? Is it 6 months? Is it a year?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what it looks like is with Credit Counsel Elite, we're teaching them how to get the funding. Afterwards, there's many different investment opportunities in leverage. So we break it down in a four-step process, basically: educate, fix, build, then leverage. Once you get the funding and build, then we'll show you how to leverage it into investment assets. So like life insurance, infinite banking structures, as well as growing and scaling their business or investing in real estate alongside with us. Now, we've had people that I've been able to coach alongside, knew nothing about real estate, and got their first deal within their first 2.5, 3 weeks, multiple times. 9 times out of 10, I really like to show them the Brrrr method just because that's my bread and butter of what I love, and I've seen the most breakthroughs from. But it really just comes down to submitting offers. As I can almost guarantee within 30 to 90 days, every single time, I've never seen it fail. As long as you're submitting 3 offers a day, you're going to get it as something back. You're going to
Yeah.
get some kind of communication. But you, again, like you've been mentioning a lot in the podcast here, it's like it's not going to show up to your patio. You're wondering why you're
Uh,
not getting any deals. How many offers have you submitted this week? You gotta
Bingo.
submit offers. It comes down to playing the numbers game.
Yeah, Brandon, you are so right. It reminds me of a story, and this is a true story, right? I
Yeah.
I used to I had my laptop up on my kitchen island, and I had a note sheet, something like a note sheet right beside me, and I had like it was like I don't know 8 or 10 properties that I had offers out on
Yep.
that particular week, and and so my girlfriend looked at it, and she's like, "What if you get all these?" I'm like, well, that's a good problem to
It's a
have.
good
Uh,
problem. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
right?
We'll figure it out,
But
sweetie.
yeah, you're right. I do coaching
Yep.
of some folks. It's a very select coaching process. But when I coach with folks, I mean that's one of the hurdles we need to get over is submitting offers. There's such a paranoia or paralysis
Yep.
around submitting offers that it's like we just have to get over it. So the more you submit offers, right? The more comfortable you get, the more familiar you are with the process, the more familiar you are with renegotiating or submitting a new offer, right? That's part of the practice. It's like going to the gym and, getting into your routine. You have to do warm-ups. So you do your warm-ups to warm up your muscles before you get into the heavy weights. There's just a process. And the same
Yep.
thing with getting into submitting offers. We just have to start doing it so that we become more comfortable.
I think so many people get like overanalyze it and really believe when they are submitting offers, like that's getting accepted. They're taking down this deal when you are so far away in that stage from closing
Yeah,
on that deal. Like if
yeah.
you're not at escrow signing paperwork and it's closing the next day, you're far away and it's okay. But just know that there's like, if this is the furthest step that you got so far, there's more coming up and it's just the beginning. You can put yourself in contingencies to get out. I've been in many contracts that the seller can't perform out of nowhere, and I had full intention to perform. So, long story short, the due diligence phase comes next, but you got to get it into contract first. And
Yeah.
so to do that, you got to submit offers. So as you know, 3 a day, you'll see incredible results within 30 to 90 days. Trust me, I've seen it every single time. When I'm looking for a deal very badly, that's exactly the same approach I'll do, even in this stage in life. Otherwise, I built up a brand that I have a lot of leads coming my way. But back in 2015, when I got my first deal, I literally had a list of 200 deals that I was submitting offers on. And I quickly narrowed it down and got to 5 after about a month or so.
And it's sometimes amazing how many of those deals you may not get, but eventually they may find their way to you. You probably had similar situations where, you submitted a deal, you didn't get, submitted an offer, you did not get the deal,
Yep.
went to somebody else, but they couldn't close on it. So
Yep.
ultimately it came to you, maybe you
Exactly.
were the second or the third or the fourth person to ultimately get that, which that's okay. That's part of the game we play.
Yeah,
So you're not going to get everyone.
and that just comes down to your character and your positive mindset. Like when you can win somebody over, even though you didn't get the deal, that's okay. Follow up with me, keep me in the loop. If something happens, let me know. And it's happened multiple times, 5, 6 months down the road of like, and now now they're in a more painful position that it's like, great, well, my offer isn't the same of what it was 6 months ago, you know? And
Exactly.
so there's some negotiation power on your side at that point.
I love that, Brandon. I love what you're doing. I love that you're a young guy. You're out there. You're using so many different methods to being a real estate investor. Passive, active. You have your own company, right? You're doing so many things to help people. In so many different ways with real estate investing. I truly appreciate you. Appreciate your time being on the show. How can folks find you? How can folks find out more about Credit Counsel Elite? Tell us a little bit there.
Yeah, so we have I've been doing a podcast very similar to this, and you were on ours as well. So it was a great episode. People are going to want to check that out. We have a new episode every Monday that drops, and that's called Ready, Set, Go REI podcast. Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. So I encourage you to check that out. Otherwise, follow me on Instagram. It's Brandon Elliott Investments or Credit Counsel Elite on IG. And then I highly encourage anybody that's looking for more funding to grow and scale their business, or if you're not in the 800 club yet, just know it's very possible for you to get there in the next 30 days or less, or even fixing credit or leveraging, travel hacking. We teach it all within Credit Counsel Elite. So by all means, you can go to creditcounselelite.com. That's www.creditcounselelite.com, where there's a quick 10-minute video that explains more in detail what the heck I'm talking about. And then afterwards, you can book a free strategy call to go over totally to get a second opinion to see where you're at, where you're looking to go, and what it would look like for us to work with you. Regardless, we'll give you some free gifts just to respect your time.
Yeah, and how great is that to have a free phone call to kind of talk through different options? Wow, just make the phone call, right, folks? Just figure it out. There's no obligation there, and
Yeah,
I'm not selling. I don't need to sell for Brandon. He's doing rock star stuff already. So we truly do this because we're trying to help people figure
that's
this
right.
stuff out because again, they're not teaching it in the schools. Right, you're not going to open up the newspaper. You're not going to listen to this on Fox or CNN. It's guys like me, me and Brandon who are out there trying to say, do this and you'll be better off.
Yeah.
So that's why I appreciate you so much, Brandon. You're doing great stuff. So thank you for your time on the show here today, and we'll connect again. Thank you, folks, for watching. We truly appreciate you, and tune in for the next episode coming soon.
Thanks, Tony. You're a legend. Appreciate you.